All right, we'll call to order the Borough Council regular meeting for November 15, 2023. We'll start with our agenda with a call to order.
President Ferguson.
Here.
Vice President Gerard.
Here.
Councilmember Fagan.
Here.
Councilmember Cresser. Here. Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Mayor Gerard.
Here.
Junior Councilperson Weeder.
Here.
Borough Manager Snyder. Here. Borough Solicitor Harper.
Here.
All right. Item 1, approval for the meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for the November 15, 2023 regular meeting?
What about all the other things?
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Oh, have pledge.
For that 7-minute meeting again.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a hard target. All stand to our pledge of allegiance.
Good luck tonight.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Stevens, you're doing on vacation?
Heavenly Father, as we quickly approach the Thanksgiving holiday, we are truly thankful for your countless blessings on us and our community. We are grateful for this opportunity to serve our community and ask that you would give us wisdom in all that we do. I praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, now we can go to item 1, approval of the meeting agenda for November 5th, for our November 15th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Stevens, a second from Councilman Gerard. Are there any changes or amendments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Or none? All right, item 2, approval of the meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the October 4th, 2023 workshop meeting and the October 18th regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Stevens. Any questions or changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right, item 3, public input. We do have one member from the public here today. If you are interested and want to make a statement or ask a question. Councilman-elect Burns. So, and there's no one online to do that as well. So, all right, we'll go on to item 4, announcements.
Next council meetings, December 6th workshop and December 20th regular meeting at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. The Hatfield Museum Historical Society is scheduled to meet on Tuesday, November 21st at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. The borough offices will be closed Thursday and Friday, November 23rd and 24th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. The borough offices will be closed Tuesday, December 5th from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. for employee training. Next planning commission meeting is rescheduled for December 11th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. That was originally scheduled for December 4th. Borough is scheduled to meet Wednesday, December 20th at 8 a.m. here in council chambers, and leaf bag pickup will continue every Monday through December 4th.
Any questions? All right. If not, we'll go to item 5, the 2024 preliminary budget presentation.
You want the red one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. What is being displayed is just kind of a brief summary of some of the things that are in this budget, some of the things that we've discussed, some of the expenses or savings that we have going on. My thought is I would go through some of these very briefly, and then Jamie's going to talk some specifics as well that I don't cover here. Don't hesitate if you have a question to ask while we're going through this. Don't feel like you have to sit here for the whole time. So if you have a question, ask. First thing I'd like to say is thanks to Jamie and her team. They put a lot of work into this, and Vice President Gerard as well. As we went through this budget, as we all know, it's a laborious process, and we only see the tip of that compared to Diane and everyone else. So definitely want to thank you guys for all the effort. I think we did a great job here. And I think that's reflective, and hopefully as I go through this, we'll be highlighting a lot of the positives. So, all right. So, I asked to basically just kind of put this brief summary into the budget, so it'll be part of what gets, shown going forward. Again, just a brief summary for the residents in case they have some questions, looking at it from a 90,000-foot view. Just thought it was a good summary to highlight. So, first thing and most important, basically the budget has no new revenue generators, i.e. no new taxes or fees from electric or sewer. So that was a positive. To give some background, when we first started the discussion, we had a $129,000 deficit. So again, the due diligence from Jamie and her team, they were able to go through, find some more estimates on what we're assuming for EIT, LST, and take out some expenses and basically get rid of that $129,000 deficit. So I think that gives her team a lot of credit for that kind of work and effort. So we had some increases, in our, let me back up. So in our transfer tax, EIT and LST, we make certain assumptions each year. This year we saw some significant increases in those revenues. So this year we decided to add some additional revenue into our assumptions. It was about $25,000 between the three of them. Again, just because we've seen such a significant jump since COVID happened. So that was a positive. One of the things you'll see in there are some examples where we started grouping expenses. For example, Lindsay on page 21, Lindsay and her, I don't want to phrase that, the
Events or
events or
sponsorships.
sponsorships, they would be broken out individually. Well, we decided to go ahead and group that into one. So so she doesn't have to worry about each individual one, but now she has a pool of money that she can use for any of those. So you'll see some changes in the budget with that as well in certain categories. Overall, there was a 4% increase in salaries and compensation, excluding healthcare benefits and that, just really salary. Again, I think that's a testament to our ability to keep supporting our employees. We didn't go as high as we see the way the market is today. But again, the fact that we do it year over year, I think kind of adds up over time. So I think that was a positive for our employees as well. A couple of things we talked about in the past, Steve Barth Consulting Services. So on page 8, we have that in the budget at $60,000. Again, the idea behind that is to kind of help us create a vision and support the businesses in the borough. And so we definitely think that's a worthwhile expense. But details on that are page 8. Boy Scout cabin, again, support, we have that as well. We want to continue to support the Boy Scouts. One thing that was a change over this year was our police service. So that's been increased to $995,000. It is the largest individual increase we have, or largest individual expense we have in the borough, except for capital projects. So, but again, it does support what they need going forward. So, and it was basically $50,000 increase over last year. So those costs are going to keep increasing over time. So it's just something that we need to be prepared for overall. But again, we were able to keep it. We were able to absorb that cost without adding on taxes. So full contribution is in there again for $30,000. We have 3 years remaining with that. So that's good. We're kind of seeing that kind of come to the end. So that'll be some additional revenue in the next few years. Employer contributions, insurance, healthcare benefits. There were some significant increases with that in this budget. Again, there's not much we can do about that. We just have to absorb it. One new expense in there was the VSME or VMSC service. We had the presentations where they came in and talked through that. And I think the initial number that they wanted us to contribute was like $21,000, $24,000. So we felt that was too much. So we basically did, I think our initial numbers, we were talking about 10, but we opted to 15 and felt that was a good compromise. So, but this is an expense that all municipalities are now starting to have to pick up. So we're not alone in that. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that under control and managed, and year over year we'll look at their expenses and kind of monitor to make sure that that it's staying reasonable. I know some people may have issues with it because we're supporting a private business, but again, it's part of servicing our residents, and I don't think we can ever really get away from that. Just like fire, I don't think we can ever not support fire as well too. So, and there also is a backhoe purchase for $180,000 over 3 years. We're expensing it. It's going to be $62,000 a year for the next 3 years. There's a separate analysis on this, which I think Kate will put up on the screen. One of the things that we had some early on discussions with about this was, you know, if we're going to get a backhoe, can we incorporate it into projects or work that we're already doing to save money? And Steve was very proactive with it. One of the things that we talked about with the backhoe was, instead of getting the same size one we have today, if we got one that digs deeper, then we could take on additional work and reduce some of our costs. Kind of like the way we're doing with inlets, same thing we're doing with cutting grass, you know, we're trying to save money there. So we put together a little analysis to say, okay, can we justify this expense? And going through it for the next 2 years, I won't get into all the specific details, it's all in the spreadsheet here, but basically overall what we're saying is that over the next 2 years, we can save $350,000. So we more than just pay for it, we actually, it starts becoming a cost savings for us going forward as well. We looked at the analysis and said, okay, what would these projects cost? We also looked at it and said, what if we just rented one instead of buying one? The savings was there as well too, but it was only $70,000. So obviously going with the purchase option and saving $350,000 was a much better option. So, which I think is a testament to Steve and his group, that they're willing to take on more of these kind of projects to save money. So, so very happy to see that. And like I said, I think that's a big cost savings for us going forward. So again, costing 180, we're saving 350 over 2 years. So, you know, the numbers kind of speak for themselves in that regard. So, all right. One of the things that was another change from the budget this year that we haven't, bless you, that we haven't accounted for in previous years was electrical pole replacements. You know, in the past, we kind of basically just kind of budgeted them when they fell or there was accidents or things like that. But Steve has gotten feedback not only from the Car and Duffs of the world that do work with us, but also we did an assessment of our poles, and they basically highlighted 7 poles that needed replacement, that they red tagged, plus I think it was 5 plus 2 additional that Car and Duff had mentioned before, and that you had mentioned structurally were in question. And so we looked at that as well to say, okay, well, this is going to cost us about $100,000. What would be the impact if we just waited and replaced them as they fell or anything else, you know? And overall, what we found was that there was going to be about a 40% increase to do that if we waited till they fell. And that's not counting disruptions to the public. It's not counting any other safety issues that could happen. So we definitely thought it was worth budgeting that and putting it into the budget this year. So, and then going forward, we'll continue to do assessments, or Steve will continue to do assessments to evaluate the other poles, and then we can develop a roadmap for getting, you know, for where we think the next few years, what poles we're going to replace and what those dollars will be. So on the summary here, you can see the initial cost there for quoting for you know, pole replacement as emergency call versus scheduled, and that's where we got the 40% number. So again, for these 7, if we were to wait until it was an emergency, we're probably paying about $40,000 to $50,000 more over that time period. So, you know, obviously long term, not only is it better for safety of the residents, but it's better from a cost standpoint too. So so far we did 70 polls. There were so many that were red tagged. And in the budget next year, we got $3,500 that will accommodate, or that will account for going back and finishing inspections on the rest of the polls. So, so again, we thought that was an important thing and wanted to highlight that. Steve, did you have anything else you wanted to mention with that? Or?
No, I think you nailed everything there.
Okay. All right. So again, you know, going forward, you know, we'll have a line item in the budget. It's foreseeable at least for the next few years.
Yeah.
But Steve's going to prepare a roadmap that kind of outlines which poles we think need to be replaced when, because that's the consulting company that's providing this information is giving us timelines on when they think the poles need to be replaced. So.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do those poles come out of the electric fund or out of the general fund?
Is that the electric?
Because you got money in there, so you might as well use it, right?
mhm. So going forward, just last couple items to talk through. Infrastructure, we're planning on about $3.5 million worth of projects, mostly the utility replacement project on North Main, but it also includes inlets, manholes, curbs, ramps, mill and overlay, those things that we're doing every year. But again, it's a big item in the budget, so I thought we should talk or mention that specifically. But it does meet with our overall plan for our infrastructure improvements. So we're continuing with that. And then at the end, I just put a couple other notes on there. One of the questions I get all the time is about the pedestrian crossings. When are we going to do that? The crossing out here in front of Mom's and the one out on 40-foot road. So right now we're planning on next year. So that's going to be a budget item for next year. Sewer EDU audit. So we did an audit of the sewer EDUs. I think we talked about it before. We didn't account for any changes in budget and revenue for this year. But for next year, we're going to look at this and start giving the residents a warning who it's going to impact. And we're going to develop a roadmap for that as well. So there will be some impact to businesses next year as the audit reassesses people's EDUs. So that's coming. Again, we've been following more of a budget roadmap, which is great. It's helping us show kind of where our expenses are. The Madam Manager Snyder had a great suggestion, and to use one of our meetings next year to actually go through the entire budget in detail, which I think is a great idea. And so we'll get more into that next year. But again, the roadmap is to help us start mapping out costs over the next few years. And I think if I remember correctly, that was what pointed out the $129 deficit right away, right? So when we did that. So again, that's another great tool that we're using to help map out for the future. And so next year we'll definitely have more of that discussion with the public, and we'll set aside a specific meeting to go through the budget in a lot of detail. So the last item we had under notes is that just everyone should know that we are looking at different investment options to manage money that we have sitting in our bank accounts today to generate more revenue. So as we've seen with some of the T notes we did, we're being very proactive about that to use those funds to help make us money and impact our budget in a positive way. So we're continuing to look at that going forward as well. So I know I threw a lot out there. Are there any questions on what I talked about before Jamie gets in it? All right. I like that. So.
Me too. Someone did a good job then.
Yes, you did.
So I just wanted to highlight a couple things we saw, and President Ferguson talked about. We were at 129 deficit when we started this budget, and how did we make up some of those funds? Just some differences from this year compared to what we're projecting in 2024. So I wanted to highlight sale of fixed assets on page 4. We're expecting to get roughly around $25,000 from selling the backhoe that we're looking to replace. So that will be some added revenue for us. In general fund expenses and document retention, we've been doing this over the last several years. We're going to continue to do that, but we have budgeted $20,000 in 2022 and 2023. In 2024, we're going to drop that to 15. We're working our way through all the files and everything to scan in. So we feel that dropping it down and saving $5,000, we'll still be able to accomplish this. But it looks like this is going to be more of an ongoing thing. We kind of thought when we first jumped into this that it would be 3 years, $20,000, and we'd be done. We're kind of finding that it's just going to probably be a circle until we can get caught up and have staff start to scan themselves. So I would expect this to last at least a couple more years. Building maintenance last year on page 8. We budgeted $43,000 in 2023. For 2024, we're budgeting $25,000. So that's a significant decrease. Last year, we had the garage doors, which was a big purchase that we budgeted. We also talked about making the door out front ADA compliant. We were able to come up with that money this year, so we don't have to add that to the budget next year. So that project will take place in December. So that was able to decrease to $25,000. We still have in the budget the small borrowing on page 21. Just wanted to highlight that, that we suspended that in 2022. We picked that back up in 2023 for the 99,000. That's what we borrowed for ourselves to pay for the AMI system. That's expected to run through September 2025. So expect to see that a little bit, at least in your 2025 budget. For sewer fund expenses, sewer repairs on page 27. In 2023, we budgeted $25,000. In 2024, we're budgeting $9,000. And that includes 2 projects that Public Works is taking in-house with the new backhoe if it's approved. Roughly a $2,000 project and a $4,000 project that we can take in-house for those cost savings. The MS4 project under sewer fund expenses, we completed in 2023 the weir wall at the Heather Meadows development. It was budgeted for $20,000 in 2023. 2024, we've dropped that to 10. It's not a permit year. It's just annual inspections. It's stuff that we have to do with kind of just keeping up with our MS4 permit. Moving on to capital projects expenses on page 33. This year, we have budgeted $20,000 to replace 3 ramps on Main Street. Last year in our budget for 2023, we budgeted $68,000. So that was a significant decrease. On page 35, borrowing, wanted to highlight that our capital debt or our borrowing for what we have is estimated at $595,000 a year. That's for borrowing that we have from 2023 or 2003 up through when we borrowed in 2021. It could be $542,000, but we put $595 if we're projected to borrow for the utility replacement project next year. So depending on how much we borrow, depending on the interest rate, we had estimated that it would cost $595,000 in debt service next year. But to date, the real number is $542,000 because we don't know what the borrowing is going to look like next year. That depends on the grants. That depends on funding. We're looking at Fitzpatrick's office for additional funding. So that kind of will make that number give or take a little bit.
Madam Manager, you didn't mention the charging station. Did you want to talk through that too? Or?
Yeah, sure. So on as part of the electric, we have a charging station, same as we did last year, looking for a grant for that. It's in the expenses as $10,000, revenues for $5 million, basically estimating that we will receive 50% grant for that. We are working with Hatfield Township. We talked about putting a charging station out back of Hatfield Borough, the borough office, because the infrastructure is already there when we built the building. Scott Hutt, the assistant manager at Hatfield Township, is currently working on grant applications with us, kind of in the process of feeling which one works best for us for the less match to fit into our funds. So we're still looking at that. I don't have the numbers right now and saying, yes, today we're going to do that project next year, but we wanted to keep that open as we did budget for that in 2023 as well. So we left that in. Moving to the liquid fuels revenue, we get state aid every year in the amount of this year projected for next year is $84,650. That is added on to the carryover of $102,000 that we currently have in our liquid fuels. So that's noted on page 40. So we are able to do our mill and overlay project out of the liquid fuels fund next year. And that's estimated at $158,000 is our mill and overlay, and that would be West School, Jade, and June Drive is what we are saying we're going to complete next year. And just at the end, always like to highlight the ARPA money that we received. We received $384,000 in funds. We are expected to use that money to put against the utility replacement project that we are going to start in 2024. So that will also have an impact on how much we choose to borrow. Right now, we're saying the project is $2.8 million. And we're saying we're going to borrow $2.8 million because we have to pay for everything up front. We know that we've been talking with borrowing if we're going to do short-term, long-term, but we are going to use that money to put towards that project to hopefully be able to pay back sooner or borrow less. That's the ultimate goal of the ARPA funds. So those were just additional items that I wanted to highlight outside of President Ferguson. If there were any questions, things that you saw in the budget that you want to discuss, I'd be happy to answer those as well. Same with Diane or Steve, as they worked hand in hand with myself and Budget, Finance, and Labor on the budget and did an awesome job. Wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Yes,
I do have a question.
Councilman-elect Burns.
On that last topic, is G Drive included in that?
Yes,
West-
yes, J, Jean, June, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yeah. It's the whole neighborhood plus June.
Yeah.
That got cut off in the notes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cut me right off.
yeah. We're skipping you. We're just going, we're going. Yeah, sorry.
That wouldn't be a good way for him to start
Yeah.
this year. So are there any questions? I mean, you know, the budget's pretty long. It's 44 pages, so there's a lot of detail in there. Did you guys have any questions? Any thoughts on the future? Okay, all right. Jamie, as I said, you guys are doing an excellent job with it. There's no questions from council, so that means you are doing a phenomenal job. So you and your team.
I was gonna say, it's not me, it's
You and the
them.
team.
They do an awesome job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
All right, if there's nothing else on the budgets, we will go to item 6. New business discussion items. So we'll go to item A, resolution 2023-17 and -18, recognizing the 2023 Citizens of the Year.
Both resolutions were included in your packet, recognizing Lawrence G. Stevens and Lieutenant Jane Robinson as your 2023 Citizens of the Year for Hatfield Borough. These are on for consideration as an action item this evening.
Does
We would like to honor them at the holiday party on December 8th.
Can I ask why there is a resolution and then a proclamation, basically saying the same thing? Is
Sure, that's just, we've done that in Hatfield Borough for as long as I've worked here. It was just an honor that we've always given the mayor. Yes,
okay,
yeah.
just curious.
Yep, that, we've just always done it for special recognitions, like if we did it for Citizen of the Year or an Eagle Scout project, or someone was retiring, we've always done kind of something special, and it was a mayoral proclamation that says the same thing. That's what it's true, it is.
And does Lieutenant Jane know that she's being honored yet?
She does not,
Okay.
so hopefully she doesn't watch this meeting. Sorry, Larry.
Thank you. All right, if there's no questions, then we'll go to item B, Planning Commission terms.
Planning Commission terms, Ken Farrell, Larry Burns, and Michelle Cresser's terms all expire on December 31st, 2023. I have reached out to all of them, and all of them are interested in being reappointed. So I wanted to let you know, we looked at the terms. These were the only terms that were expiring this year for all our committees. And all of them are interested in being reappointed and serving for another 4 years.
Any questions? All right, item C, years of recognition. Service recognition.
Every year we do years of service recognitions, and this year for 2023 for Borough Council, we have Jason Ferguson for 5 years, and Zoning Hearing Board, we have Jim Rudolph for 15 years and Dan Rook for 15 years. We would like to honor these years of service at our annual holiday party. So we will create resolutions and they will be on for consideration at the December 6th meeting. So they will be prepared and you can honor them on December 8th.
Questions? All right, if not, we'll go to item 7, old business, 2024 meeting dates.
The draft of the 2024 meeting dates was included in your packets. From the last meeting, the only update really was changing the reorganization meeting from 7 o'clock to 6:30. As right now, currently, that's when Judge Levine is available. He has a commitment he has to get to by 7, so I did offer if 6 o'clock worked better for him, I would put that to the board to see if the board would be okay. Because we didn't advertise yet. We're not going to advertise till middle of December, so I'm just waiting on a response so that may or may not change. And then also under planning commission dates, there was a planning commission like December 18th, which would be the January meeting. But we don't really have to have that anymore, as planning commission is talking about moving to the 4th Monday of the month instead of the 1st. So there would already be a January meeting. There would be a meeting in January, February. We wouldn't have to meet the month before to make up for the month that sometimes you have to do that because holidays and things fall on, and when council meets, it's became a lot to organize. We're trying to streamline it, so that also was taken out. And just to highlight, as President Ferguson said during the budget presentation, Budget, Finance, and Labor did have a discussion this evening about creating a separate meeting in November. It would be the second Wednesday in November, so between the 6th and the 20th, to have a full budget presentation. It would be more like a town hall, but it would be solely focused on the budget, a budget workshop. We felt that this would be a great time for residents to come out and be able to ask questions. We'd be able to show where we were when we started the budget to where we are today, including graphs, charts, those things. And we would also be able to talk about where we're going to be in 5 years from now, kind of prepare people if we possibly could see a deficit. Maybe we might have to raise taxes or rates, kind of be able to give people a little bit of a heads up and just kind of work through the budget more in an open public meeting in more detail. So that's also a consideration if council would like to do that for 2024.
Do you want to go ahead and put that date in there before this gets publicized
Yeah, it's
Okay.
going to be a public meeting, so we certainly can. And I was just looking to see when it would be. The 13th. Man, is that unlucky?
It's almost on Friday.
Yeah, all right. If council also wanted to hold a town hall in May, we normally hold a spring town hall. I know we can include that, or we can advertise that separately. We normally hold that the second Wednesday in May.
My preference would be, let's go ahead and put it on the list of dates, so that way it's all here in one spot. If everyone else agrees with that, so.
That would be the May 5th, May 8th. I'll update this for next meeting, and then we will consider advertising it pending the planning commission approval of their dates, because the planning commission, God bless you.
Sure.
The planning commission won't meet till the 11th.
Okay. All right. I just want to say good job and thank you. I know like last year, we shuffled dates and times, and this year we're doing the same thing. So I like the fact that we're being creative and coming up with different ideas, the way to manage things. I think that's a testament to your willingness, bless you, and your team's willingness to change things up and do what's optimal, so I commend that. So.
They're very flexible.
All right, if there's no questions on the dates, we'll go to item B, the Christmas tree lighting request.
Grace Lutheran's Christmas tree lighting request is included in your packets. This is the annual Christmas tree lighting to be held on December 2nd at 6:30 p.m. at Railroad Plaza or Memorial Park, whatever you would prefer to call it. The day is going to kick off at 5 p.m. with refreshments and games and crafts at Grace. Also contributing, the Pac-10 Boy Scouts will be there to help them, and then everyone's going to march on down around 6 o'clock to the tree and sing some carols, and then we'll light the tree that is already decorated. So this is on for consideration as an action item to allow Grace the use of the Railroad Plaza.
Good job using the warm days for that.
Yeah,
That's what it was. We're not freezing doing this ever again.
Well, remember you said you had the snowflake lights up early, right?
Yep.
So, yeah,
Everything's done. All we have to do is plug it in next week.
yeah.
Everything's done.
Or test out, okay?
SAR tested great. I triple checked it.
Still have a job.
It didn't officially come on yet, okay? Let's not jinx it.
I'll text you on, what's it, the day after Thanksgiving,
It goes on Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, the day
Yep.
before.
Everything but the tree goes on Wednesday night.
All right, item C, MPWA, intergovernmental, cooperative cost sharing agreements.
Yeah, I can handle that. This is a big project for the borough, doing sewer work at Borough, Maine. And the North Bend Water Authority is gonna do water work at the same time. So we can bid it all out together. We're gonna have to write the bids, but the engineers can do this in such a way that we distribute the costs with the work. So there's Hatfield Borough work and there's North Bend Water Authority. And hopefully we will get good prices by combining and doing it all at the same time. And secondly, once the streets are repaved or whatever, then we won't have to rip them up again so that the other one could do something. That's the whole purpose of this agreement. It provides that we get the bills and we bill them and that they don't make us advance any funds, that they have to pay us timely enough that we can pay the contractors for what's due and owing to them. And it also calls for a lot of cooperation between the engineers for the water authority and the engineers for us. And if there's a dispute, it's gonna go to the manager of the water authority and Jamie to work out. And I believe that they would be able to do that. I think it's a cooperative agreement with somebody that we cooperate with a lot, so I don't think it should be a problem.
I just was at a chamber meeting on Thursday last week and I saw Tony Belito. We talked about this agreement. He's very excited and that I said we were gonna act on this at our next meeting and he's just excited to work with us and, sends his thanks and praise for Hatfield Borough.
It's smart, it should save both of us money.
Mm-hmm. All right, was there any questions on the agreement? All right, if there's no other questions on old business, I guess we can get down to the action items. We'll start with A, motion to consider Grace Lutheran Church request to hold the annual Christmas tree lighting at Railroad Plaza Memorial Park. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion from Councilman Stevens and second from Councilwoman Cresser. Any questions, changes, or amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right, item B, motion to consider the intergovernmental cooperative cost sharing agreement between the Borough of Hatfield and the North Penn Water Authority for the utility replacement project.
So,
I got a motion from Councilman Gerard, a second from Councilman Stevens. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item C, motion to consider resolution 2023-17 recognizing Lawrence G. Stevens as the 2023 Citizen of the Year.
So moved.
second.
I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. I think there was one
Councilman
abstention.
Stephen wanted to abstain.
Yeah.
I wrote 401.
All right, and hopefully Lieutenant Jane isn't watching. We got motion or item D, motion to consider resolution 2023-18 recognizing Lieutenant Jane Robertson as the 2023 Citizen of the Year.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Stevens. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right, we got through those action items pretty quick. Item 9, motion to approve payment of the bills.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Stevens, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions on the bills? If none, all in favor? Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Madam Manager, do we have items to discuss in executive session?
Yes, we do. We have, litigation items to discuss.
All right. Having said that, can I get a motion to adjourn for our executive session?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Fagan.
Did you want to?
Oh.
Or you're just coming to hang out?
Well, I wasn't coming to hang out, but,
Like hang out and listen and learn, and-
Well,
yeah.
we did public comment at the beginning,
Yeah.
but I'm sure they would hear it.
Right, that's
now.
Yeah, absolutely. If you,
I'm just happy to, I'm like really excited to be here. It's my first one. And I'm really sorry. I thought I was showing up 15 minutes early. For some reason, I thought it was at 7:30.
It
Used to be.
used to be.
Used to be.
It
I
did.
swore I thought in the email I got today. Whatever.
It used to be 7:30, and we changed it in this year, starting for, so we could do it at 7 o'clock. So now you're not late, but we welcome you anytime, so
Awesome.
come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hope to be here for the whole next one.
So you actually showed up.
I skipped yoga for this.
Okay. Sorry, so we were at the motion to adjourn. We got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, second from Councilman Fagan. Any objections? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.